blood magic and betrayal. In the shadowed corners of ordinary life, there exist practices older than written history. While most walk through their days unaware, some carry ancient knowledge of binding others through unseen means, weaving connections that transcend the physical world, creating ties that pull and manipulate from afar. She noticed it gradually. The dreams came first, vivid, disorienting visions where familiar faces appeared distorted, their eyes reflecting intentions never shown in daylight. Then came the unexplained fatigue, the sudden emotional storms that matched no trigger she could name. What troubled her most wasn't the heaviness that followed her like a second shadow or the inexplicable sense of being watched. It was the realization that someone in her inner circle, someone who embraced her with warmth, who laughed easily in her presence, who asked about her day with seeming concern, was the source. They had performed the rituals in secret, using elements she'd never suspect, a strand of hair casually collected from her brush, a name written in special ink, personal items borrowed and returned with something subtly altered. While sharing coffee and conversation, they had already claimed pieces of her essence without consent. The betrayal cut deeper than any blade could reach. This wasn't a stranger's malice, but the calculated actions of someone who smiled to her face while conducting ceremonies by moonlight, someone who understood that the most powerful binding spells required the element of trust before they can take hold. In public spaces, they offered compliments and flirtations, subtle touches that seemed innocent. Behind closed doors, they whispered her name over darkened vessels, creating invisible chains meant to direct her energy, her attention, her very life force toward fulfilling desires she hadn't chosen to serve. When awareness finally dawned, it arrived not as dramatic revelation, but as quiet certainty, the kind that rises from the body's own wisdom rather than the mind's logic. The understanding that some smiles conceal ancient hungers, that some connections aren't formed through mutual choice but through rituals performed without witness. Liberation would require more than simply walking away. It would demand the courage to acknowledge forces many refuse to believe exist, the determination to sever ties created through means both mystical and manipulative. It would mean learning to trust not just her mind but the visceral knowledge that resided in her cells, warning her of what logical thought could not perceive. For in a world where blood magic still flows beneath the surface of ordinary interactions, sometimes survival depends on recognizing that not all bonds are formed through spoken agreements, and not all who approach with open hands have left their darker tools behind.